grand merci, Guy. I want to be invited to your next dinner. That sounds like lots of fun. That theme of convergence is indeed extremely pertinent, and I like to think that that is actually what we do at the ISSP, or certainly what we strive to do at the ISSP. So for those who aren't familiar with the Institute, we're a cross-faculty institute at the University of Ottawa, and we are looking, as Guy mentioned, at the interface between science, society, and policy. And I think, you know, on the one hand, you can say, well, what isn't at the interface of science, society, and policy in these times? What we do focus in on, then we've got three core thematic areas of focus, one of which is science for policy. So AKA evidence-based or evidence-informed decision-making. The second of which is policies for science, technology, and innovation. And then the third of which is governance of emerging technologies. And we have an absolutely outstanding network. I'm still meeting after being the head of the ISSP for 3 years. I'm still meeting people in the network, and an absolutely outstanding network of scholars here at the university, of senior fellows that are part of the institute, of researchers and others, both on and off campus, that focus on those issues across a whole host of different policy sectors. So everything from energy to genomics, to public health, to AI, and on and on and on. It's an extraordinary privilege to lead the ISSP, and I'm extraordinarily pleased and honored to be able to moderate this panel this evening. We have an absolutely outstanding set of panelists for you, all of whom in one way or another have a connection with the ISSP, many of whose connections with the ISSP predate my time with the ISSP, so I'm actually the newcomer on the panel. So starting from your left to right is Paul Dufour, and all of you have, hopefully on the way in, you grabbed the biographies, so we won't go into great detail around people's bios, so you can consult that information for yourselves, but I will present each of the panelists briefly, and then they're each going to share with you their thoughts on the topic for tonight. Paul Dufour is a senior fellow with us at the Institute. He's also an adjunct professor with the University of Ottawa, a very well-known entity in the science policy world. Beside Paul is Michel Stanton-Jean, who is a member of the advisory committee of the Institute, and also the former representative of Quebec to Canada's permanent delegation to UNESCO. She is now a visiting researcher at the Université de Montréal, and is somebody who has tremendous experience in intergovernmental organizations, both federally and abroad. Beside Madame Stanton-Jean is Errol Mendez, who also is a member of our advisory committee. Errol is a colleague in the Faculty of Law, and again, a strong believer and supporter of the Institute. Beside Errol is Dan Paré, who's a core member of the ISSP. Dan hails from our Department of Communications in the Faculty of Arts, as well as the School of Information Studies too. Beside Dan is Christine Troutmansdorf, who's Vice President Government Relations and Canadian Partnerships at the Colleges and Institutes Canada. The President of Colleges and Institutes Canada, Denise Amiot, is the Chair of the Advisory Committee for the ISSP, so delighted to have you with us here, Christine, this evening. And beside Christine, last but definitely not least, Rhys Cosson, who is also a core member at the ISSP, and he's with us from the Department of Biology, where he holds a university research chair. So I think it's fair to say that this is a group that really does a great job of reflecting the diversity of perspectives, both disciplinary and in terms of expertise, of the various individuals who are part of the ISSP's network. And I think we'll all bring an extraordinarily rich perspective around the topic for this evening, which is Global Knowledge Society, a Promise in Peril, ? question mark. I think they're all going to have different answers, different answers to that question. So what we've done, because this is a relatively large panel, is each of the panelists will have fairly brief opening remarks, sort of 5 to 7 minutes or so, to share with you some of their thoughts around that question, and then we'll move into a moderated discussion, and following that we'll have a roving microphone for people to pose questions to the panel. So without further ado,